So Nicole left a note as her way to quit.
You can't say that.
Now here, yes, I am. Nicole. There's lots of Nicoles. Basic white girl name. Courtney, Nicole, Ashley.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, I'm with you. So the story is, I'm out of the office somewhere doing something, and the other lawyer at the time who worked with me is like, hey, have you seen Nicole? Have you seen Nicole? And I'm like, no, I haven't seen Nicole. I don't know where Nicole is. And Nicole never went to lunch. She always ate at her desk.
Okay.
So like hours go by, and finally somebody, I guess, goes to her computer, and there's a note. And here's what the note says.
Did she leave and you guys didn't even know she was gone? Like she quit and you didn't know?
Yeah. Here's the note. My heart isn't in this anymore. I'm sorry. I have some stuff going on in Pennsylvania and I need to go there. I'm leaving now. I will mail my parking pass back after I use it to get out today. Nicole. Never got her parking pass. That was $35. And at the time, $35
was a lot of money
not insignificant. Not insignificant.
For a business owner that was just starting up. Well,
so this is our hiring episode. The Rathie Law Firm was founded, and I was it. For like 7 or 8 months, it was just me. And then I hired a part-time paralegal. Couldn't afford a real-time paralegal.
I think you've said this before. I think you have said you were the paralegal, the secretary, the lawyer.
Calendar clerk.
Trash man.
Mail. The reason I knew I needed to hire someone was I was standing at the post office.
Yeah.
I was standing there and I was just, this is not how I should be using my time. So I got a part-time paralegal. Her name is Audrey. Audrey is now a lawyer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And has been a lawyer for years. So she was a part-time law student and she was my part-time paralegal at the time. So she was doing law school part-time and worked for me. And then she smartly decided that personal injury law was not for her. And she now does something else. I realized really early having to train Audrey was awful. Well, it's awful because it's another job. It's a full another job.
Yeah.
And then you get into this idea of, is it a better idea to train her, which maybe, let's say, takes an hour, or I can do it myself, which is only going to take 25 minutes.
Right.
And Audrey was great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think she'd ever worked in a law firm. The trade-off was I needed someone part-time. Mm-hmm. And she needed to work at A, to make money, B, to have some legal experience.
Well, yeah, I bet that looked good on a resume.
Yeah, so that was the trade-off. So she shows up day one, and I'm like, I've never had an employee. She's like, well, I've never been an employee, at a law firm. So I'm like, okay, well, let's figure this out. So, I remember explaining to her how to do certified mail.
That's fair. I don't know if I know how to do that. I've never,
Right.
Nobody's ever asked me to do that. So
how to file something electronically. And in the state of Georgia, depending on what court you're in, there's 3 different filing systems, including the federal court
was
system.
it Peach Court?
Peach Court, Odyssey, and then Pacer. So you're teaching those 3 things. I mean, but it's every single thing.
Yeah.
How to answer the phone.
Yes.
I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I was just using easy numbers. I know you say I use the phrase easy numbers a lot.
All the time. All the time.
So for easy numbers, if you have 10 staff members and at least this is my belief, that a good hire is going to stay at least 2 years. Mm-hmm. So let's say you're having turnover every 2 years of your 10 people.
Yeah.
You're going to have 2 to 3 people turning over every year.
Wow.
At least. So I guess I kind of got a taste of that with the first person I ever hired.
I guess because schools are so big. I mean, there could be 100 employees in a building or 150.
Well, for someone who doesn't know why the heck you just brought up schools, why are we now talking about schools?
Because I was a teacher. I taught for 14, 15 years. I can't remember.
This is your first year not teaching.
Right. Staying home with Wellesley, the baby. Our baby.
It's like episode 9. I don't know what episode we're on. 9. Like, catch up, people. Like,
Yeah.
get to our spot so you know who the heck we're talking about.
Yeah. So our job experience is much different because where I work, there's 150 people. Yes, you do lose usually 5 to 10 employees a year, but it's not as big of a dent because it's such a big system.
Yeah, no, I do understand that. And I mean, a bigger company is constantly replacing more people. And I know a school system isn't a company, but it basically is.
Right.
You're replacing more people, but you get better at it, right? A company that size, you have a recruiter.
Well, and there's also...
I can't wait to shit on recruiters. It's gonna be
there's
like
also more people to teach that person how to do their job. I remember one of the schools I was at, they delegate. Like they would say, hey, you're going to be the mentor teacher for this new teacher coming in. And I would have.
I am. You going to pay me more?
No, it was one of those voluntold opportunities where you volunteer to do it, but you're actually told to do it.
I give them the no.
And so then you have to, that person would come to you with, and I mean, I think you have to hope that you have a good relationship with that person too, because it's awkward if you don't. Right. They would come to you and ask you, how do I use the copy machine? Because every school system has a different copy machine. I mean, it's...
The Rafey Law Firm.
Do you have a copy machine?
Now named Rafey Brown and Stokes. Yeah. I got to get that right. It's I got to get used to that.
RBS.
I always want to think it's RBF, resting bitch face. We do have stupid questions. The stupid questions don't exist. There's not. Yes, there fucking is. Stupid question is one that you haven't tried to figure out yourself. Mm-hmm. You haven't researched yourself, and you haven't asked someone whose name isn't Mike. Like that's a stupid question. If you come to me, hey, how do I use the copy machine? What have you done? And that's the number one question I ask. And I don't get copy machine questions, but I get like, hey, Mike, I've got this case and here's what happened. And what do you think I should do? My first question is, what have you done to figure this out?
You know what we do in schools, or at least in kindergarten? Ask 3 before you ask me.
Well,
like ask 3 people.
Yeah, but how about just not, when you're an adult and an employee, how about just not ask anyone? How about you do your job and figure it out? I know coming to me, I know the answer, and I know if you come to me, you'll get the answer quicker. But that's not my job. I've said this before on videos and stuff, that if you have a great employee and they do 95% of their job, like they are excellent at 95%, and that leaves only 5% that they're not sure of. Like that's a incredible employee. But if you have 10 of them, that's 50%, 5% each for 10 people. That's 50% problems. I can't take a combined 50% of your problems. That you're here to solve problems.
I do understand that, but I will disagree a little bit, because I am one of those people that I need to, before I do something, I want to make sure that I'm doing it correctly, and I want to know how to do it. But I will also write down and take notes so that the next time I do it, it will be done correctly.
Ooh, I'm getting mad. So I think that
At me?
I think the idea that I want to ask somebody before I do it because I want to be right, I think that is a reflection of I'm going to say your school system's a business, and I know you worked at a bunch of them, but I think that's a result of an employer not giving their employees permission to be wrong, make mistakes.
Well, I mean, there are no mistakes in a school. Like, you cannot make mistakes, because if you make...
It's called immunity. You can't even sue the school when they make mistakes. Go back to our episode 3 or 4. I mean...
that may work for administrators, but for teachers, it does not work like that, I don't think.
But I do mean that like... I do really mean that you as an employer have to create a space where employees are okay failing. Not failing, but having a setback and being wrong. And I mean, there are times when people come and ask me questions in the office and I'm like, you figure it out. And I know they're going to screw it up. I know they are, but they need to. And you have to have a workplace where you are empowering employees to make decisions, try harder than they think they can or should, because they know that if they don't do it right, you're not going to be up their ass and be mad at them, and they're not going to risk losing their job and all that stuff.
I'm a big fan of flow charts, or, I can follow directions, but when it's not my company and it's somebody else's name on the line, I'm completely fine with taking responsibility for myself. And, if I do something wrong, absolutely, it was my fault. But when it is somebody else's name on that door, then I am a little hesitant too.
This is why you don't work at the Rafey Law Firm.
Exactly why I don't work with you.
How do you? No, but for real, like you have to. If you have that attitude, and I don't mean the attitude in a bad way, but if you have that perspective,
sleeping on the couch tonight.
Given your snoring, I'll choose to.
I've been sick. Why are your eyes so bloodshot?
No, but if that is your perspective, I think that your employer is not doing a good enough job of giving you ownership and saying it is your firm. I am in my office, like physically, I would contend I work the most, but I am physically in my office the least.
Yes, I agree with that.
At a minimum, I try to tell everybody the office is not mine. Mm-hmm. I'm not the one who's here the most. I'm doing whatever I got to do, going to court, going to hearings, meeting clients, meeting lawyers, sitting here in what we call the purple room in our house doing
with our
this.
purple chairs.
Right. So I say, you guys make this how you want to make it. And that goes to how you want to, that goes to what offices you want. They pick whatever office they want. That goes to what you want in your office. That goes to, I show up, I don't drink coffee. There's random coffee machines. We have like a stack, like it looks like the junkyard of coffee machines that different people have tried over the years. I don't know why. And I don't know why we don't get rid of them, but that's what they want. But like the attitude and the climate in there is for them to create because it's their workplace. They're at work just as much as you're at home awake. So I try to give them and say, this is your place. This is what you have to feel safe to make decisions and make mistakes here. But, some people don't want that burden because that is a tough thing. No, that's a really tough thing. The easy employee or the employee who wants to do things easy says, I have a problem. Let me report it to you. Hey, Mike, this client just called. Here's the problem. What do you think?
I don't agree with that statement because I am not an easy employee. I'm a very
difficult one. I can tell. Very difficult. I mean, the employee that wants it easy for them.
Yes, I understand.
The lazy
what you're
employee.
Saying.
It's a laziness.
You know what? I can sympathize with those people because I am a perfectionist and I want to do it right. And I also, I don't like personal recognition. And what that means is I don't want to be the best where you're like, Ashley, come and, come and do a tutorial on how to do this. But I don't want to be the worst. I want to be right here, mid-average at the bar. I want to do my job. I want to do a good job at it. But does that make sense?
No.
Oh.
You're striving for average. I would tell you strive for average or strided
no,
for
that's
average.
Not true.
No, you did not want to be the best teacher. Well, let me rephrase. You did not want to be the best employee at the school because then you get burdened with bullshit.
You get voluntold to do other things and it becomes less about being a teacher. I want to be the best teacher in my classroom for those kids and meet their needs.
That's an employer problem. That's an employer situation that they've created where they do not incentivize their best people to do the best things.
Well, they add more stuff on top of you and you already have a full workload.
Without pay.
Without extra
Right.
pay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that is a environment culture problem. I don't know if you can solve that in what essentially is a not-for-profit. I mean, the goal of a public school is not to make money, just like the goal of the U.S. Postal Service is not to make money either, people.
Well, and I will say that like a business.
So that's why it loses money. Sorry.
Like a business, school systems are all different. I have worked for multiple school.
Oh, you're getting worried that your
systems.
principal is going to watch this. Oh, I see what's happening.
No.
Oh, you're like, he's not going to write that recommendation for Charlie for the private school.
Absolutely not, because
I see
that
what's going on here.
school was one of the best ones I've ever worked at.
You did not warn me before this episode that I could not speak my mind.
I did not.
Look, you need to take responsibility for your own actions, and this is the consequence. But that is an environment problem. I mean,
that makes sense, yeah. And I have worked at schools where the administration makes or breaks a school, for sure. And if they are inconsiderate, if they are, putting tasks on teachers, delegating them, and overwhelming teachers, then it just makes the work environment very, very tough to deal with.
Well, at our firm, we want excellent work. Not perfect. You said perfect earlier. Perfectionist.
Right, I am.
We want excellent work. Excellent work is not perfect, but it is always, I shouldn't say it's not perfect. Excellent work isn't always perfect, but it is always timely. And excellent work cannot be last minute. By definition, it can't be. So we are striving for excellent work.
And you need an employee.
Oh, well, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, the reason this came up, the reason when we saw comments of people, a couple episodes ago, we said to people, hey, what do you want us to talk about? And it's a real bad sign that we're like 5 episodes in. We're like, what do we talk about? We asked everybody, and a lot of people said hiring or something like that. So we were excited to do this because right now we are hiring and / always hiring.
Well, and we find that when we talk about things that are happening in our day-to-day lives currently, it kind of comes out a little bit more organically too when we're having these conversations. We
think the podcast is better.
Definitely better.
I wish Stokes was here because he's the person, other than me, I think this is true. He's the oldest tenured person at the firm. Him and Alexis, who's our head litigation paralegal, those two started within like a couple months of each other. So I think Stokes is at like 7 years or 8 years. And
It's
I
a
think
long time to put up with you.
something like that. I could be a year off. I'm just ignoring you. So the story of Stokes, who's been in other videos, Chris Stokes has been in other videos. I knew him in law school because I helped coach his mock trial moot court teams.
Okay.
And at like an end of the year banquet, his third year of law school, his last year of law school, I said to him, and someone else did too, Jen Jordan did, said, hey, you should come work for me. And I was like, hey, and I knew him pretty well at that point. I was like, hey, you should come work for me one day. I wasn't saying right then. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And a year goes by and he's at a defense firm and I call him up and he can tell the story one day on here. It's kind of funny from his perspective. So I call him and he puts me on speaker. Mm-hmm. If I ever call you, don't put me on speaker. What do you say when I call you and you're in the car?
The first thing is I'm in the car. There's little ears listening.
The other day you're like, I'm in the car with my mom. And I was like,
Please don't say anything inappropriate.
Hey, Mary Carol, what's up? Before I say balls. So he has me on speaker. I call, he puts me on speaker and I start the conversation with, hey, when are you going to come work for me? Now, his office was in like an old house kind of thing up in Marietta. And he's like, immediately, pressing the button, trying to get it to stop, right?
Hang up.
Keep in mind, one of my good friends who I went to law school with is a partner at that firm, like 4 doors down.
Oh, God.
And I'm texting him, by the way, on the side, being like, I'm going to steal one of your lawyers. I'm not telling you which one, but I'm going to take one of your lawyers. Stokes goes, yeah, I don't know. And I'm like, just let me take you to lunch. So we go to lunch and he's like, I've only been here for a year. I have so much to learn. I'm like, not there. You don't. Come and be a plaintiff's lawyer. You'll learn the same stuff faster, better, I promise. So he made the right decision. So that's our good story. What I've learned over the years, I've had good bosses and bad bosses. And I had a really good boss who was once really, really tough and was a really tough boss. But when you know the person cares about you, you know the toughness is coming from a really good place.
Right.
I also had a boss that did not care about me. Mm-hmm. Very clear, did not care about me. And I didn't care about him either. So when it was mutual. And then when he was really tough, or some would say more than tough, that was not okay because I didn't have the respect and he didn't have the respect for me. So I think I have been over the years, especially when Stokes was younger, and I was younger too, and a little more fiery on a daily basis. Yeah. I was definitely really, really tough on him.
You think you've simmered down some?
100%. Well, there's 2 points on this. First, he can show you emails that like sent in the middle of the night from me. And I'm like, that's not wish I could go back in time.
Yeah.
But I think I'm in that time, in that place. That's what I needed to do. And I think that's what he needed to hear. Yeah. Could I have done it differently? Sure. What's funny now is I am the one in the office who is the most fiery one. Okay. Fiery.
Yes. Fiery.
I am the most vocal, outspoken, and I'm the one who kind of wears my emotions on my sleeve. And you know how I'm feeling that day by how I act. Right. Feeling good today. And when people do things in our cases, the lawyers on the other side or something happens, I take it personally. And the reason for that is if you're a defense lawyer, you make money just by being a defense lawyer, by working hours.
Hourly. We get paid hourly.
Yeah, we get paid only if we win.
Right.
So if you do something shitty during a case, you lie, you hide, you steal, you cheat, you're just a dick. You delay, you're taking money out of my pockets.
Right.
We are very motivated in every case, and making money so you could wear a funny shirt with a bear on it. Is a huge motivator. So I take it personally because I feel like when you're screwing around, you are taking money out of my pocket. So I'm usually the one, or had been historically the one at our firm that's like firing off an email that says like, "Fuck you, you're a piece of shit."
Right.
Or on the phone being like, "That's bullshit. Here's why." And look, if it's bullshit, it's bullshit. I'm still going to call it bullshit. Now I walk down the halls and I sometimes, or I'm CC'd on emails, and more so now I read something and I'm like, ooh, and I go to somebody's office. I won't say who. It's all of them. It's everybody. And I'm like, hey, let's pull back a little bit here. It's a Tuesday, calm it down. And what I've learned over the years and what I've tried to share with everybody is that you can push, but you have to pull back and give people a way to save face. So like if you're just destroying people in a case, you then need to give them an out so they can settle the case with you for what you want while also still looking good in front of their client.
Right.
And that's what I've learned over the years, not to completely destroy. You want to leave an olive tree in the middle of their burned down backyard.
Well, I was thinking, Chris Stokes, he's now a partner.
Yeah.
And so is Alex Brown. And you guys always talk about when you're hiring, and I know when you hired them, finding somebody that fits in. And that makes me, when I was in grad school, I watched this TED Talk. It was about two Black males, and they both were like first generation going to college from two different cities, but they went to college, and one of them goes and he meets a group of friends, and he does great in college because he has they call it a sense of belonging, and he feels like he belongs there, and he really does a great job and really like flourishes there. And then the other man goes to college, and he doesn't find a group that he can fit in with, and he actually ends up dropping out like in the first semester.
I can see that.
So,
I mean, that I walk circles around everything, right? So when I'm on the phone, I walk. And the first time I ever talked to Alex, we're like 20 minutes into the conversation. Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine had said, you should call this guy Alex Brown. I call him. And we're 20 minutes into like past hello, who are you? What are you doing? Why do you want a job? Why are you trying to hire? The basics. And we're like knee deep in 3 cases within 20 minutes. And he's like, oh, here's what I would do. Here's this. What about this? And that conversation ended like an hour later with him being like, all right, so when do I start? And I joked with him. I was like, dude, I haven't hired you. We haven't talked about pay. And he goes, yeah, we'll figure it out. And I'm like, all right, yeah, we will. Like, and yeah. I might've been the one that said like, all right, you're going to come in on Monday, like whoever it was, but it was just a natural, like you fit, we get along. And that's problems we've had over the years. When I first started hiring, I started the firm when I was 29, had my first $1 million verdict at 30. I just turned 30. After that case, I'm kidding around, just bragging here. I then was like, okay, now I can hire a lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Keep in mind, that case was appealed and I did not get paid for like 5 years. I hire a lawyer or I go through that process and everyone's older than me.
Right.
Everyone is older than me. Mm-hmm. And pre-beard, if you go back in the channel or wherever you're watching this.
You look very young. Now you look a little bit scruffier. Like a zaddy. We all like it.
That made me feel uncomfortable. Look, consider this the workplace. And
Was that sexual harassment?
I feel harassed.
Well, with a sense of belonging, I know that you, not only for lawyers, you have to find that, but also for paralegals. And but you threw me off here. Let me at least continue. I'm sorry. Here. What did I throw you off on? Oh, the sense of belonging?
The sexual harassment.
Oh.
Yeah. That's where you threw me off. So
should I wink at you now too?
Please, I'm not going to look at you. So where can I look? So we are. So I'm trying to hire, and literally there are people that are older than me. Lots of people, and still to this day, I don't know how a relationship's going to work unless you're the kind of person that kind of checks their ego at the door. And I'll check mine too. You may have things that but. When I was first starting to hire, people would realize how old I was. That people didn't know. Maybe they had never met me. They just knew my name. And like, I'd have an in-person interview where I'm supposed to be interviewing them. And then it turns into them being like, so like, do you have money to pay me? Like people would ask me that. And I'd be like,
that's a fair question. I mean, that really is a fair question.
It was asked so many times. Here was my canned answer back then.
Yeah.
It's in my interest to make sure that, the firm's resources and finances are in a good place. And I would never want to go out and hire someone and then, it wouldn't be in my interest to then have to let that person go if I don't have enough reserves. So of course I do. Like I said that so many times. You may hear that one day in my sleep. So I hired somebody who was older than me, but I thought that, I thought that we could both check our egos at the door. And for quite some time we did. And that was a good relationship. Stokes was the 4th, I think. I think that's right. Then Alex comes on. And then since Alex and Stokes have joined, we've frankly gotten a lot better with hiring. Here's the hardest part of hiring a lawyer. We've done some interviews where we walked away and said, that person's great. Mm-hmm. Awesome. I'd love to go get a beer with that person. They're going to be great in the office. Too often, the person that you need to hire, the skills that you need are not in the person that you get along great with.
You want to hang out with. That makes sense.
The best interviewees are not always the best hire.
Well, and I always feel like you are hiring at like the worst possible times. I don't know if
When
that's
is the best time?
I don't know, but it's like, oh, we just have a baby and then you need to hire. I mean, literally, we have a 2-day-old baby and you have to hire another lawyer. Yeah.
I mean, the tough part about a small law firm like ours, from the lawyer side, is that there's only so much upward mobility. We have 3 partners. You need to, if you want to become a partner and share in the equity of the firm, you have to do an outstanding job. You need to be indispensable. We need to be begging you to stay. And that's the truth of it.
Okay.
We need to say, hey, we need you. Come, please stay, join us, right? If you're not, we can compensate you very well. We can give you all the benefits in the world, but you can't move up. There aren't, it's not Google. There's not 9 million roles that you move up this crazy chain. It's not a teacher either where you're moving up pay steps. We can pay people more, but we can't give more responsibility. On the staff side, it's even harder. The toughest thing about staff at our firm or any firm is that the absolute best employees want more. They want more responsibility. They want more leadership. They want more whatever. We have an amazing office manager. We have an amazing head litigation paralegal, and we have an amazing intake specialist.
You don't really have the room for people to take over those jobs because those spaces are already filled.
Right. So, hey, you're an incredible litigation paralegal. Awesome. You can be kind of second in command here on the litigation paralegal side. Even our best litigation paralegal wants more. I can't make her a lawyer. You know, it's not like a teaching assistant who has a degree and has passed the test, then decides I want to become a teacher.
Right.
You know, you can't become a lawyer unless you go spend 3 years going to law school and then you do all those things. So it's really tough to hire people when you say to them and they ask, what is the upward mobility here? And maybe this is where I go wrong in interviews. From the employer perspective, I say what I just said. I don't know if there really is a lot, but we can give you all these benefits, but I can't make you a lawyer.
Right. Well, and I think that it's hard too if they don't have the motivation of moving higher. I know for me, teaching, if I go back to school, I get more money. If I stay longer, I get more money. I do think that you compensate your paralegals very well, and I think that you do what?
You get mad. You used to get mad about how much we paid paralegals.
Well, just because
on the teacher scale, you're sitting there going, I went to all this school, I have a master's degree, and you make similar, sometimes less than our staff members.
Right. Yes, I did. And I wouldn't get mad by any means. If you are a good employee and you are doing your best,
You got mad.
then you deserve
mad.
that. But
got mad.
I was a little jealous.
You get mad when employees didn't do well and you knew how much they were making.
You used to say, well, if you had an employee that wasn't doing well or they weren't showing up on time, an excuse would be, oh, well, they're younger. They've got to learn. I started teaching when I was 21 years old. I had a full class of 5-year-olds that I had to teach, and I had to, communicate with their parents, and their parents were my age now.
Look, we've never contended that we are the best interviewers in the world.
I mean, obviously not, no. If you were, you wouldn't be interviewing because you'd be done interviewing, right? You'd have amazing staff. Nobody would ever leave you.
I think people leave. Like one of our best former employees is now a copywriter at an ad agency. That's what she wanted to do. We had another employee who now is a college professor.
Okay.
So what I tell everybody when I hire them is, if you come to work here, make yourself valuable. Yeah. And working here will make you more valuable if you want to leave. And at some point, if you want to stay here and you think you're underpaid or undervalued, I'll probably know before you, and hopefully I've corrected that. I've offered you something,
right?
Which all my employees know, that I come to them randomly and I'm like, you deserve more money.
Are you happy now?
Yeah, for real.
What do I need to make you happy to make you stay?
hey, I know now you're taking on 15 extra cases because you've gotten so efficient and effective.
Yeah.
you deserve to be paid more. So with employees, all of them, I say to them, make yourself as valuable inside our office so you can command a raise or whatever benefits you want, and make yourself as marketable outside the office, and I'll help you.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud that we have people that now do all kinds of different stuff. And that makes me so proud. I know with those people, I couldn't keep them. Those are the ones that I'm happy, I accept. And those are most of our turnover is people wanting to do something different. And I can't blame them. It's very rare we get very rare that someone leaves and goes to a competitor or a similar type place.
When people are applying to be a paralegal at your office, do they have to have a paralegal degree?
No.
Do they have to have a certificate?
No.
Interesting.
No.
Do they have to be a certain age?
No. Go try, hit me again. Come on, hit me again.
Other question.
Do you, no. No.
Do they have to have prior experience?
No.
Okay. In fact, I
No.
think I think recently, didn't you hire somebody who didn't have any experience and you're like, we'll teach you how to do this?
All the time. So I'll give you the two ends of the spectrum. Casey, who's our office manager, has a paralegal degree or certificate, or has a college degree, and then has a paralegal. I don't know exactly what it is, but
right.
She has legal training.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and she's been doing this now for 20 years.
Yeah,
I'm estimating. I'm not trying to give away her age. About feels like 20 years. I want her mad at me. So she has as much training as you can have, and then. I knew Casey I knew Casey before I had my own law firm. Mm-hmm. And then the law firm she worked at was right near the law firm that I had when I opened. And for years I was like, please come work for me. Mm-hmm. Please come work for me. And eventually I, won her over, tricked her. So she came and worked. So she has the most experience you can possibly have. Mm-hmm. And then there's Alexis, who is our head litigation paralegal. Alexis worked at a law firm. So she did, but she was a file clerk. And she basically, from my understanding is, she took paper in a file and put it in other files. Mm-hmm. She didn't know.
So she obviously has learned a lot from being there.
Yeah.
And
the tough part about our willingness to hire people that don't have any legal experience or training, or frankly, even people who have a paralegal certificate and haven't worked at a law firm full time, is that you have a language barrier.
You need somebody who watches all your shorts and all your videos and they know the language to apply. That's what you need.
Probably.
They would know the language better than I would, for sure.
But that makes training really tough for those, because, generally the people who don't have experience are younger, better with technology, mm-hmm. better with computer skills, maybe a little more motivation, and want to, prove themselves. But then you say to them, can you draft a notice of deposition? I go, okay, you're like, what the hell is that? So, and that's a very basic task. It's really tough when you train somebody for a year and then they say, I want to go do this different thing, or I'm moving, or whatever it is.
And you're just like,
we had an employee, this was pre-COVID. We had an employee that was great. Her name was Savannah. She got engaged and moved to Florida. Mm-hmm. And, this was unheard of, at least in my circles at the time. And she was like, okay, well, I hate to go. I love the job, but my husband got this job. My soon-to-be husband got this job in Florida, and we're going to move down there. I have family down there. And I was like, why don't you keep working for me? And she goes, what do you mean? And I was like, so are you getting an apartment? And she goes, yeah. And I said, I'll get you the second bedroom. I'll pay for the second bedroom. And we'll call that your office. All I care is that you use that office between 8 and 5, whatever your hours are. Mm-hmm. If you want to have a party in there later, don't care at all. Just make sure you turn your webcam off, whatever you're doing in your extra bedroom. And I paid for a part of her apartment. I mailed her a computer, a printer, a scanner, a fax machine. Some of those were all in one. And she worked out of there for almost 2 years, I think.
Wow. And
that was pre-COVID, right?
Yeah.
Now we are a little more willing to have people that are remote so we can get some of the experience that we want. Well, because what's been happening is when we look for people, especially on the staff side, we put up a job post to all the different places and we see the same group of people. Like literally, Case would be like, I'm making up a name here. Case would be like, did Jillian apply? And I'm like, yep, saw our resume again this time. And it's the same person that just doesn't fit what we're looking for. So we've expanded and are more willing to do things virtually if you have experience.
Well, people got so mad, and I think you did a story on this or a short about how when you post a job on LinkedIn or wherever you post it, that you have a specific set of rules that you need them to do.
They're so complicated and burdensome.
What was it that you asked people to do? It was a cover letter?
Yeah, to basically take a piece of paper
Yeah.
and write, I am interested. And then PDF that with your resume.
People were so mad because you kind of called people out. You were like, you're not reading the job post. You're not following directions. And we need people to follow directions that are going to work for us, which makes sense.
Over the years, the reason the reason I came up with this idea was, one, because I wanted to make sure people followed instructions, and at least we're willing to. Everybody can follow instructions. I want to make sure that you're willing to, especially on something as important, hopefully, to you as applying for a new job.
Right.
But at the time that I started doing this, it was just me looking at resumes. Now Casey looks at them, Stokes looks at them, Alex looks at them. We all kind of pitch in. Back then, I'm looking to hire, I think, a staff member. And I was getting a lot of resumes, and it just took too much time to flip through. So I said, what can I do to kind of filter?
This weeds out.
And I said, everybody, I said, put your font red, red font in the whole thing. And then if I saw a resume and didn't have, or a cover letter, whatever it was, I wasn't even asking for cover letter. I don't care about your cover letter. You copy and paste that shit to everybody. So for your resume, make it in red font. Does that take an extra step and doesn't allow you just to click apply? Yes, that's the point though. So now when I flip through as the employer and I flip through and I see, black. No. And when I see red, then I go, okay, this person's trainable. This person's willing to follow instructions. Do you imagine somebody coming in and be like, hey, Mike, I messed this up. Why'd you mess it up? Well, I didn't read all of it. Are you kidding me? You're a lawyer and you did not read the entire job post?
Well, and I think you want, when people are applying to your jobs, you view your employees as being very valuable to you. Like the people that work for you are extremely valuable. You want to make sure that they're taken care of. Them. Yeah. And so you want the people that are applying to value your law firm too. And if they're not reading the whole post and they're not following directions, then it's kind of like they're not.
I posted
seeing
this
the value in it.
I posted on LinkedIn to kind of my circle and was like, hey, can you guys, it was basically like, does this surprise anybody that this is what I'm seeing? And I was only seeing it on LinkedIn, which is weird, not on Indeed or some of the other posts. It was purely a LinkedIn thing, which Indeed has the auto apply thing too. So it was kind of a question that, I'm looking to get some engagement because I want people to see the job post.
And people were so mad.
Oh, they told me I was disrespectful,
Yes.
that I was being a control freak and all this stuff. And I was just like, even if everything you say is true, I'm the one hiring. But what you're saying isn't necessarily true. We have a good reason to do it. It makes sense for us. If you don't like it, that's fine. But when I wanted to go to the University of Georgia School of Law, if they told me, hey, we want you to come to an interview and wear a red shirt.
You would have done it in a heartbeat, right?
And then the next week, if UNC, when I was looking there to go to law school, if they're like, we need you to wear the powder Carolina baby blue.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm doing because I care. And
Right.
look, I get it that you might not care about a job that you're just applying to and you're applying to a ton of jobs, but care enough that you will follow the instructions so you get the job.
Can I say hello to
Yeah.
Kelsey? Sorry.
Come here, Budzo. Come here. Hey. Here, let me grab.
Newest employee of Rafey Law Firm.
Let's have Wells. Oh, boy. Let's have Wells give some legal advice, okay? You ready? If you're arrested by the police, here's what you do.
What do? You
Yeah.
just give them the smile.
You shut the fuck up.
Hey.
That's what we do. Yeah. You look at them just like that and you go,